Hello, I'm David Dubato, and you're watching the No Delusion Zone for Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026. And here we are, living in the past, as I think was the title of an album by Jethro Tull. But in any event, here we are, back to the future, living in the past, going back to the 1950s and the Red Scare, uh, which was perpetrated by a senator called Joe McCarthy. Yeah, the Red Scare, the good old Red Scare in the 1950s, when he pretty much decimated all of Hollywood, all of the writers, many directors and actors by labeling them communists. It really had a chilling effect on the arts community, the motion picture community for about a decade. Those people couldn't find work at all. Um, it was a sad time. It was a sad time. And eventually, although he did last for far too long, Joe McCarthy was shut down by actually he was the president at the time, and some others that stood up against him. But in any event, that's just an intro on what I want to talk about today, because as I said, we're living in the past because our current president, this gentleman right here, yeah, you remember him? Yeah, he is on a communist tear. He I don't know who got to him or what he read. Well, I take that back. He doesn't read. But perhaps when he was watching Fox News, because that's all he does. All his cues are visual, either Fox News or looking at cartoons during his intelligence brief once a week. But somebody or somehow put the idea into his head that we have another outbreak of communism in this country in the year 2026. And it's being foisted on the American people by the Democrats. Of course, the Democrats are always responsible for everything bad in this country. The Republicans, MAGA, is responsible for everything good that's happened to this country, right? Well, before I get into this any further, I'm going to play a couple of clips and show you an excerpt from some stories on this. I've got to say at the outset, and yes, I realize that some of this or all of it might have been spurred by the recent success of a fringe, a far, far left fringe of the Democrat Party called the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA. And I have written about this recently and done a podcast about the Democratic Socialists. They, I believe, won the primaries in, they've got a Democrat socialist as the mayor of New York. They also won primaries in New York for Congress. I think the mayor of Los Angeles, their primary, the Democrat Socialist, won there, as well as a primary for Democrats in Washington, D.C. There may be some others that I missed. But I want to say at the outset, I don't like the Democratic Socialists. They're not communists, but we'll get into that in a minute. They are a huge mistake. They are traitors. Look, when people slam this country, when I believe they're doing very, very serious harm to this country, whether it's through national security, the economy, our culture, our history, prices, just anything that seriously damages the United States, I will fight back. I will tell them that they're full of crap and that they are a danger. And right now, a big danger to the United States are the Democratic Socialists of America. I do not want them in power. And any Democrats, traditional Democrats, that vote for them, give them their support for primaries or God forbid, in the general election, are cowards, and they're stupid, and they're misguided. We don't need any more radical far leftists, just like we don't need any more extremists on the right. We don't need it. We've got far too much of it on both sides of the aisle. Anyway, like I said, I don't like the Democratic Socialists. I see them as a huge danger to America. But what Donald Trump is doing in his own illiterate way is labeling them along with the communists, the historical communists that ran the Soviet Union for about 70 years, are still running China, and in some other pockets, smaller pockets throughout the world. But for the most part, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. Well, except for a very small out of power party in Russia right now. They do exist in China, the Maoist form of communists, capitalist communists, if you will. But the traditional communists that I know Trump thinks he's talking about are extinct. They're gone. They're gone. But yet he is rattling on, about communism, how that's the greatest danger to our country, how it's worse than World War I, World War II, and 9/11. So I'm going to play that clip where he goes into that. So stay with me. I'm going to just play a brief part of this clip where Trump goes on a rant about how serious communism is to this country.
Communism is a mortal threat to American liberty. It is the greatest threat to our country, including World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor.
He's nuts. He's absolutely nuts. For one thing, I don't believe the Democratic Socialists are going to go anywhere as far as winning the general election. I really don't. If they do, okay, they might eke out a win in D.C. The mayoral contests in D.C. and Los Angeles. And they may win a couple of seats in Congress. I don't see them making a major push to take over the Congress, the U.S. House, or the governor's seats, or the majority of the mayors, the mayoral contest in the United States. Just not going to happen. That's not the way Americans think. There's a very small percentage of cuckoos, of lunatics in this country on the left who will support them. So they will win some races, some elections. But overall, it's a very, very small percentage, and they're not communists. I know it's hard for many people to separate out, well, what's a socialist, what's a communist. I'm not going to get into that right now, but there is a difference. Yes, they both want more public services. They want more free services for citizens in their country. I get that. But that's about it. Now, the Democratic Socialists go way beyond that. Way beyond even communism, in my opinion. They want to disband the police force. They want to disband DHS. They want to defund the police, a real favorite of mine. That's insane. They want open borders. That's also a favorite of mine. I've never been in favor of open borders. I favor strictly enforcing the immigration laws that we currently have. And therefore some other nutsy things, dismantling basically the government at all levels and just giving it all to the people, free minimum salaries, opening the treasury, and just they're nuts. They believe in chaos. They really do. So I'm obviously not a supporter of the Democratic Socialists, but they're not communists. They're just far left wing nuts. And they're not going to go very far. What Trump is talking about is communism, what I think he perceives as traditional communism, a la the Soviet Union, the Red Scare here in the United States, as I said, in the 1950s. But it's not happening. So I'm going to play one more brief clip. Then I'm going to go to a couple of excerpts from articles on this. So watch this brief clip.
This is every election is important. We're doing very well. They want a lot of communists to come in. I'm saying it a little bit differently, but the people that they're pushing are communists, and this country is not going to have communists. Thank you very much.
He's right. We're not going to have communists because they're not communists. They're lunatics, but they're socialists, and bad socialists. They're extremists, way past what even most socialists believe in. In any event, let me go to the articles now and show you what this is about. I'm going to open with, and I forget where this one is from. One's from the New York Times. Another one is from Cronkite News. And this is just an excerpt on what Trump's been saying. He originally made this statement on July 3rd, the eve of our Independence Day on July 4th, while he was at Mount Rushmore making a speech. That's when he first came up with this communism bit. And these articles were written after that because he's continuing to go on with the whole communism bit. And he's trying to pin it on all Democrats, that if you're a Democrat or anyone who disagrees with him or MAGA, you're a communist. So let's read this. A specter is haunting the country, according to President Donald Trump. Decades after the Soviet Union collapsed, Trump is warning Americans that communism is rearing its head domestically, citing gains by self-described democratic socialists in Democratic Party strongholds. America will never be a communist country. Won't happen, Trump said in his 4th of July speech on the National Mall, in one of the dozens of recent references he has made in recent weeks as he paints Democrats as radical in the run-up to the midterm elections. It's like a cancer. You've got to cut it out. Our warriors did not fight communism on battlefields across the world only to have that menace rear its ugly head right back here in America. We're not going to let it happen, he said. And again, we're not, because they're not communists. They are losers. They are idiots and lunatics, but they're democratic socialists. And more to the point, the majority, 99.9999% of all Democrats who consider themselves Democrats are not democratic socialists. They may be many things. They may believe in a lot of or expanding public services and giving some more public benefits to Americans, but they're not socialists, and they are definitely not communist. Another excerpt, this time I think it is from the New York Times, and it goes as follows. Following the president's direction, Republican leaders in Congress have also pledged to fight the red menace, tying it explicitly to, like I just said, the Democratic Party. The Bolshevik takeover of the Democratic Party is in full swing, and communism is on the ballot this November. Representative Steve Scalise of Louisiana, the House Majority Leader, said. One imagines that we'll soon see Republicans quoting Alexander Kolchak and waving the banner of the White Army. For those of you that might not be familiar, he is obviously talking about the Russian Revolution and then the eventual takeover of the communists in Russia in the 1920s, the revolution in the 1970s. After the Russian Civil War, the communists came out on top, and for the next about 70 years ran the Soviet Union. It was a communist nation. That has nothing to do with these lame people, these knuckleheads, numbskulls that call themselves democratic socialists. Nothing at all. And as I've said, and I'll repeat it as long as I have to, that has nothing to do with the mainstream Democratic Party. They've got a lot of faults, and I knock them a lot as well. I really do, the Democrats. But they're not the democratic socialists, and they're not even close to being communists. But since we're in a run-up to the midterms where MAGA and Donald Trump are scared to death of taking a shellacking, they're going to paint the Democrats, all of them, with a broad brush and call them communists. And that's no surprise, but it sickens me. It just shows the depths of their, not only their illiteracy and their stupidity and lack of historical context, but the fact that about half of the country is believing them. I'm sorry to say that. I've done many articles about this as well. I'll put this up very briefly. About 54% of American adults, roughly 130 million people, currently read at a 6th grade level. I can't put that up enough or talk about it. So the point is, Donald Trump's talking to these people, his base, who read at a 6th grade level. That posting goes on to say that, and about 20% of those read at below a 6th grade level, at a 5th grade level or below. So when you're talking to people like that, and you're telling them that all Democrats are communists, even if they don't know what communism is, they believe it. They believe it. And to them, communism means evil. And Donald Trump means a saint, appointed or anointed by the Lord, and they believe him. Yes, this is going to have a big effect on the midterm elections, which are coming up in November, as well as many other obstacles that Trump and MAGA are putting in the way of fair voting. That's going to be the subject of, I'm sure, several of my future podcasts. But for today, that's all I have from this non-communist, non-Democrat. That's all I have. And in the immortal words of Groucho Marx and John Lennon, you all take care, stay safe, and please try to stay sane.